I'm a doctor, but probably not the one that you were expecting. Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about The Night of the Doctor, written by Stephen Moffat and is directed by John Hayes. This is a special 7-minute short for the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who, and is a prequel of sorts to the stories The Name of the Doctor and The Day of the Doctor, which introduces a brand new incarnation, the War Doctor, played by John Hurt. Now, they announced that there was going to be several shorts. One of them was one set during like a time war with a soldier. One of them, the BBC announced, was going to feature either the 11th, the 10th, or the War Doctor. And that's technically still true because the War Doctor is still technically in this. But we had a massive surprise and a massive shock when it turned out that the 1996 TV movie Doctor, the Big Finish audio drama Doctor, the one and only Paul McGann, came back in a surprise small little episode just all around to himself. Boom! Paul McGann is back in an official BBC production. Oh, it's so cool. It's just, even now, even though it's been like 8, 7, I don't know, years ago, it still blows my head that they got Paul McGann himself to return for the 50th anniversary short special. Now, a lot of criticisms have come to this story that it feels like a scene from a completely like this should have been the setup, the opening scene for Day of the Doctor. Personally, however, I do like the fact that they released it as a standalone edition. Now, another fun fact about this story is that originally it was supposed to have aired on YouTube much later, around about the same time as the Day of the Doctor movie. However, due to fears of leaks that Paul McGann's appearance would be spoiled, they actually released it a few days early. Coincidentally, this day that they released it on was Paul McGann's birthday, making it a somewhat of another celebration to a sense. Now, this story, I can't tell you how astonished, how well put together this is. Yeah, it feels way too short. This story could have easily been 40 minutes long, and Paul McGann does deserve to have his own TV story again. But for what it's worth, I think this is a very, very great adventure and well worth I would say the price tag, but it's free. Now, I've downloaded it and I've put it on this CD here. This is an art cover designed by Matthew Purchase, who does lots of these. I thought it was like Christopher Hale, but he does a lot of these really cool covers of classic Doctor Who and new series in the style of classic Who, and that is some really stunning artwork. However, my copy's a little bit different to most. You see, this isn't just the Night of the Doctor. This is a fan-edited version of Night of the Doctor. What I did is I took the soundtrack from the TV movie and added in the TV movie intro, which is like as I stated in the TV movie, is my favourite intro. Now knowing that the War Doctor's era essentially starts with Paul McGann's, at the end of Paul McGann's era, in a similar way that the 80s Doctor Who started at the end of Tom Baker, I am planning on doing a re-edit where I add in the Howard Carter theme, the Time War theme, with music from the 8th Doctor Time War adventures. Just so it all fits nice and tidy. I've also added in a few new shots of John Hurt at the end of the story, so that it feels, so it's a little bit longer than what we're used to. Very, very neat. So, on to the story. Actually, tell you what, we didn't get a good look at this cover, did we? So there's Paul McGann right there. Oh, in this story, Paul McGann has a completely new costume. The BBC either didn't want to, or they didn't have the rights, which is really strange. I've heard they couldn't have the rights. However, Big Finish owes the BBC. I mean, their property is Doctor Who. That's what made them big. I think BBC, if they wanted to use the Dark Eyes costume where he's got the blue leather jacket, I think they should be allowed to. But instead, they had a completely new costume, very similar, based in style to his TV movie appearance. Now, this costume is designed by Howard Burden. Now, he's done some few costumes for the new series. More well known, he's done this. He's also the costume designer for the War Doctor and the 8th Doctor. No, sorry. What am I talking about? 8th Doctor. The 12th Doctor. I don't know where the 8th Doctor came in. But anyway. Now, this is easily the best costume of the 8th Doctor. It's tidy. It's basically his TV movie, but it's a lot more swashbuckling with his massive boots, and the scarf is the collar, is very loose and posed onto his shoulders like that, as well as you've got the handkerchief scarf, rather than his I don't know what they're called, like a fluffy scarf thing. But they kept the same colour jacket, at least a very similar jacket to his TV movie, and his silver lining waistcoat. But I just can't, and they've also got a way to not only have Paul McGann's iconic curly hair, but also to have it short, because that was one of Paul McGann's criticisms with what his appearance looked like in the TV movie. He wasn't a fan of his curly hair. I don't know, I just wanted to add that in. So, I think I've rambled on enough about the actual behind the scenes stuff. So, on to the adventure of the Night of the Doctor. The last appearance of the classic Doctors. Oh yeah, you could see the War Doctor is kind of like a border between the new and the old Doctors. So, the story actually starts off with a crashing ship, and on that ship is one survivor, or at least one passenger, a woman named Cass. She's on this gunship, but she's very young to be flying a gunship. Presumably she's been fighting in the Time War, and she is she's trying to get some help, call out for help as her ship is crashing. But we see the TARDIS appearing behind her. And then we get the iconic line where Paul McGann appears behind her and says, I'm a doctor, but probably not the one you were expecting. This line makes no sense in the actual narrative of the adventure. I mean, what kind of doctor was she expect? I mean, a medical doctor, obviously, but in space, I presume they're all, like, you know, more flamboyant than what we're usually referred to. So I don't think it really makes much sense in terms of the actual narrative. But what a hook! What a hook! Especially how the directing, John Hayes' directing, is superb. Now, it's important to note that he only did two prelude stories, as they're called, the short little stories that appeared on YouTube that like as a prequel to the to a TV story. And his other work I'm not too particularly keen on, but here you could clearly see where he was asked to direct Paul McGann, and he is loving every second with it. With Cass, when you hear Paul McGann's voice, Cass turns and the camera follows her sight as she turns around and sees Paul McGann just standing in the archway. Spot on, amazing. Now, what's really strange about this little short, I mean, I can understand they couldn't really help it. I mean, this was the theme song for the series at the time in terms of 2013. But it is strange to hear a new theme with Paul McGann. I really think that they should have, and the intro as well, it's a blue hazed version of the 2013 intro. Personally, I'm not too keen. It looks really bland, but I personally, like I said, I've re-edited my version so it actually has the TV movie theme song. And I do plan on making one with the Howard Carter Time War Doctor Who theme song. So, as somebody who makes fan edits, it doesn't really bother me that much, but when it came out, it did kind of like, well. Now, this story, what makes the story so great is that despite it being so short, it adds in a bunch of little fun little moments. There's a great moment when they go through the corridor to the back of the ship, and Cass asks the Doctor, why are we heading to the back of the ship? And the Doctor says, because the front crashes first, think it through. That is a great funny line. This story clearly shows, in terms of the balance between humour and seriousness, Stephen Moffat at his best, in my opinion. The first half on the ship is very humorous. You've got very light beaten hearted with the Doctor literally is like, right, this woman, she stayed on board because, you know, someone had to, and she risked her life just so she can get everybody off board. And so he tells her, welcome aboard. And she's like, on board what? And I'll show you. And she comes off, we get the corridor scene. And she's always like, is the universe always like this? And which the Doctor replies, if you're lucky. And we get probably one of the jaw-dropping moments of this story. The Doctor starts heading into his TARDIS. And the Doctor's like, don't worry, it's bigger on the inside. And Cass is like, what? Bigger on the inside? Is that what you said? Yes, you'd love it. And that is a perfectly normal Doctor Who companion intro. The whole, it's bigger on the inside, and like, it's amazing, and it's, and you watch it and you're like, right, she's clearly built up to be a companion. But then it turns out she knows what a TARDIS is. And then when the Doctor tries to grab her to try and get her on the TARDIS, she says, don't touch me. And the Doctor is like, I'm a Time Lord, but I'm one of the nice ones. We get a great moment in which the Doctor compares, it's like, at least I'm not a Dalek. And Cass is like, who can tell the difference anymore? And Paul McGann's face is so torn by this. It's clearly this is something that has affected him personally. And he tries his best. Now, this one little scene, shows why Paul McGann is so great as the Doctor. A lot of people cite him as the romanticist Doctor. He's the first Doctor to really fall in love, in a sense. He's the one who has probably the biggest heart compared to any Doctor, really. But, he still has a little bit of a dark side to him, like any other Doctor. But out of all the Doctors, he's probably the most light-hearted Doctor. And Cass closes the door between the Doctor and herself. And the Doctor is like, I will not leave the ship without you. And she says that you're going to die here with me. Best news I've had all day. What's great about this scene, when you're rewatching it, the Doctor's stuck in a room with his TARDIS. He could go whenever he wanted to. But because he's so determined to try and save Cass, to try and help her, he stays there as it crashes, as it pummels to the planet below. He could have easily gotten in his TARDIS and saved himself. Might have been sad by the loss of Cass, but he could have saved himself. But he didn't. He didn't take the easy route out. Small little moment in a small little story, but man, what an impact. And when the Doctor lands on this planet, these women are watching the crash, to which one of them proclaims, and here we are at last. My sisters, the Doctor has returned to Khan. We have always known in our bones that one day he will return. It's such a pity he's dead. As we see Paul McGann's face on the floor. And it's clear at that moment that this is Paul McGann's regeneration story. This is his ending. It's also important to note that this is the first televised appearance of the Khan and the Sisterhood of Khan since their first appearance in The Brain of Morbius. However, Morbius himself, I don't know if the sisters play any part. I haven't actually watched the story, listened to the story, but they have appeared in a audio drama, at least Morbius has appeared in an audio drama, The Vengeance of Morbius, I believe it's called, or Vengeance of a Time Lord or something like that, which I haven't listened to and I haven't talked about it on the marathon, so I do apologise for those who are fans of that particular story. But it's a nice little connection to another connection that Paul McGann has connected to himself, if that makes any sense. So anyway, the 8th Doctor wakes up in the caves of the Sisterhood of Khan, where he basically realises he slowly starts to realise where he is. Now the woman he's talking to is a character called, I believe her name is Olistria. Now she is, according to the expanded media and later stories, she's actually a very personal friend of the Doctor's, knowing him since his first incarnation. Although here, he does seem to recognise her, but it's not that plebiscite. And knowing this future stuff doesn't actually affect this story. It's not like it's a contradiction, like the Doctor acts like he's never met her, neither does he act like this is a woman he's known for ages. It's just another person to him. And they proclaim that to the Doctor, we've brought you back to life. You have little under 4 minutes to decide what you want to do. Which comes into, again, one of Stephen Moffat's, one of his great funny lines in which the Doctor's like, 4 minutes, but that's ages. What if I got bored? Bring me a television set. Who's up for a game of chess? Bring me knitting. That's a great moment. But that's just a small little beat in this very serious and dark second part, as the Sisterhood are basically begging the Doctor to take action, to become, to fight in the Time War. But the Doctor starts refusing at first, stating that he helped where he can, but he will not fight, because he is a good man. He calls himself the Doctor. It's the same thing in his eyes. I like to think so. Sorry, that's just see, the story just has those moments that get stuck in your head, and it really shows how powerful Stephen Moffat's dialogue is in this story. Easily one of Stephen Moffat's best. He really knows how to give off great short stories. For those of you who are interested, go watch The Curse of Fatal Death. You will have a blast. But anyway, back to this story. And the sisterhood basically try and convince him. They take the body of Cass, and she's dying. She is and there's no way of basically curing her. She is damaged beyond repair. She is basically at the edge of life, and the doctor's holding her slowly dying body, and it's like, I could have saved her, I could have gotten her off the wreckage. She wouldn't let me save her. She wanted to see the universe, to which Alistria is like, then she is wiser than you. She knew that there was no escape from the Time War. If she was here now, what would she say to you? And the doctor's like, me, nothing. I'm a Time Lord. Everything she despises. But the Khan, they basically try to guilt trip him, stating that she would beg his help, as we beg your help now. Obviously, as because we've seen the scenes with him and Cass, clearly she wouldn't have said that. But it's the fact that Alicia could convince the doctor, that the doctor maybe has a little bit of an ego, because he's like, yes, she would have asked me for my help into fighting this Time War. And so the doctor looks around as the sisterhood have got each, because they have the elixir of life. This is a specific elixir which actually triggers regeneration. If the doctor chooses to stay alive, the sisterhood can bring him back in a new regeneration. Not only that, they can actually customize the regeneration. As Alicia says, young or old, fat or thin, man or woman, which I believe is the first indication that the doctor can turn into a woman. And the doctor picks up one of the, what do you call them, it's not a belt, like a gun holder on Cass, to which he proclaims, warrior. There's no need for a doctor anymore. And he picks up the cup. And here we are. It's Paul McGann's final moments. He shouts at everybody. Shout! Paul McGann shouts for all of the sisterhood to leave him. He asks, will it hurt? And when Alicia says, yes, it will hurt, he says, good. He hopes it hurts. As he gives up the name of the doctor. As he utters his final words. Now, this is a very important aspect of Doctor Who. Paul McGann's 8th Doctor's last words. Not because it's a very emotional, very impactful, it really works in the scene, but also as well for chronological and fanboys and fandoms. It does something. It does something amazing. Something fantastic. Something which made millions upon millions of fanboys alike get up off their seats watching this and cheer like it's a football game and their team have scored a goal. The doctor picks up the cup. Charlie, Cress, Lucy, Tamsin, Molly, friends, companions I've known, I salute you. And Cass, I apologise. Physician, heal thyself. As he drinks the cup. For those of you who aren't aware, those names he stated are audio companions. Doctor Who companions from the Big Finish audio dramas. Big Finish is canon. Boom! There you go. That's what we needed for the 50th anniversary. Big Finish has done a lot for Doctor Who. It brought back, it was one of the parts of the wilderness years, allowing Doctor Who fans to experience it whilst the show was off. It brought back Sylvester McCoy, Colin Baker and Peter Davison. But not only that, specifically, it gave Paul McGann an era of stories and where Paul McGann himself, this is not like a comic book, where Paul McGann's involvement is nothing. But this gives Paul, or Big Finish gave him, and it's a great way to thank them. It's a great way for the BBC to thank Big Finish for their hard work in keeping this Doctor an official fan favourite Doctor, because otherwise you would only have the very unpopular TV movie for Paul McGann. So it's very nice, it's very, very powerful. And the physician heal thyself, which is a quote from Luke's 4:20, I believe, the Bible. It just really, really works. Physician heal thyself, as in the Doctor's about to heal himself. He's going to right his wrongs. He's not been fighting in the Time War, he's been avoiding it. But he's been avoiding it too long, and it's time to set things right. It's time for the Doctor to die. It's time for a new man to be born. A new individual. Separate from the Doctor in moral compass and in name, but is still the same man in his head and memories-wise. As Paul McGann drinks and collapses to the floor, from a chronological point of view, the first time we see the famous fiery glow of the regeneration. This would be a mainstay for the rest of the series now. Every regeneration we see of a Time Lord has this effect. I'm not a fan of this effect being used constantly. I really, really loved it when I first saw it with, well, we talk about that when we talk about Partner of the Waves, but I'm not a fan of the fact they use this regeneration effect. But however, I can use it in my head canon that this flame is actually thanks to the elixir of life merging with the Time Lord's DNA. That's how I'm using to explain it personally. Otherwise, you just gotta go. It's gone from different effects and really cool. Oh my god! I wonder how they're going to do it, to the same effect over and over and over again. And Alicia knees down, looks at the Doctor, and asks, "Is it done?" As the Doctor gets up, as you can only see his hand, picks up the belt, Cass's belt, wraps it around him, and we see his reflection. I don't actually know what the reflection is supposed to be. Maybe it's just like a number of a cup or something, but it's very strange. Now, what's really cool about this, I don't think anyone else picked this up. At least I haven't heard anyone talk about it. When the reflection, there's a bit where the reflection it shows the face like wider, and it looks like Christopher Eccleston. And our fan drops. It's like, oh my god, this is the regeneration into the 9th Doctor. But when he gets to a much more clear spot, it's not. It's John Hurt as the War Doctor. Specifically, this is an image taken from John Hurt at a very younger, in a very early, I believe it's like a 1970s television program, basically proclaiming that the War Doctor lived his life. He was a young man when he regenerated and grew to be an old, wary, old traveller. And he proclaims, "Doctor, no more." Although I keep hearing Doctor Who. Please tell me if you can hear it as well. I always hear Doctor Who, but apparently, according to the subtitles and everybody else in the comment section on Night of the Doctor, he says Doctor No More. No More being like this kind of mysterious meme that was used during the promotional impact of Day of the Doctor, and also those words would become mainstay in that story as well. So basically, no more is the War Doctor's catchphrase. And we say hello to John Hurt, chronologically speaking. And there you go. That's Night of the Doctor. Overall, it is well shot, looks absolutely stunning. I mean, the fact that there's no scene set on modern day Earth, it's all ships with the very heavy lighting and the caves and stuff. And these are original set pieces for this story as well. That's pretty impressive, if you ask me. And John Hayes does a fantastic job at giving this story so much life. Stephen Moffat balances his humour with a much more serious interpretation, being in the fact that it's set in a time war and shows the dark origins of the 8th Doctor regenerating into the War Doctor. And Paul McGann is so great in this that it really, really, really makes you really wish that he had returned for at least a 60-minute episode extending this. I would love to see if there's any deleted scenes in this. If someone can get a hold of Stephen Moffat or John Hayes, tell them that there is somebody looking for deleted scenes, and I'd love to edit a version of it that uses the Time War theme from the audio dramas, the Howard Carter version. So there you go, that's Night of the Doctor. So join me next time where we move along from short films into fan films as we get introduced to this new incarnation, as we see the story of the young man turned old through the eyes of a child. So join me next time for the charity event, Seasons of War. And I'll see you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-ra!